modules, we presented why it's important to measure the metabolism of cities, how to do it, and what results it can yield. In Module 4, we will now see some concrete examples of policies that were developed thanks to urban metabolism studies. In this video, we will explain how the urban metabolism study of Brussels, carried out for the environmental agency, shown in the previous video, helped to develop circular economy policies. As for urban metabolism, there are many definitions for circular economy. One of them defines circular economy as an economic system that at every life cycle stage of a product or a service aims at increasing resource efficiency, lower the environmental impact, and increase human well-being. A number of cities around the world have put in place a circular economy strategic plan. These include Paris, Glasgow, or Amsterdam, and Brussels is one of them. Let's spend some time to present Brussels' regional program of circular economy. This program, running from 2016 to 2020, was developed by three regional ministries: the Ministry of Economy and Employment, the Ministry of Housing, Quality of Life and Environment, and the Ministry of Waste Collection, Public Cleanness and Research. The Circular Economy Program proposes 111 measures divided into 4 different sections. The first is a transversal section that aims at developing and adapting a regulatory system that will enable circular economy innovations, trainings, and jobs. The second part is a sectorial aspect. This section identified the most promising sectors for applying circular economy strategies. We will see in a moment how the waste flows from the urban metabolism helped to choose these sectors. The third section of this program is a territorial one. This part proposes measures that will spatialize and anchor circular economy activities. The final part is focusing on the governance aspect. In fact, such a complex plan or program requires an important collaboration between the stakeholders, and the governance section developed measures to ensure the coordination between these stakeholders and monitor the progress going from a linear to a circular state. As mentioned before, a number of the proposed measures for this circular economy plan came from the urban metabolism study. Perhaps the most obvious example is the waste flows that can be seen here. The waste flows presented in the urban metabolism study presented which sector generates most waste. In this case, we can see that the construction sector, the one on the top flow, the construction sector alone generated more than a third of Brussels' waste. And for this reason, an additional study was carried out to study the flows of the construction sector and to identify new economic models. This additional study measured the material stock of buildings in Brussels, and it highlighted that more than 80% of the stocks was non-metallic minerals. So this is one of the flows that we should aim at reusing because of its weight. Another thing that was possible to see here is that most of the materials in the material stock could be found in the structures of buildings. Therefore, we can see two different types of strategies: what type of flow we should reuse, but also what parts of the building we should focus at maintaining. Over here we can see that as 75% of the material stock was in the structure of buildings, one of the important types of strategies would be to keeping and maintaining the building stock. With these two types of information, so what type of flows we should maintain, we should reuse, and what type of parts of the building we should maintain, it was possible to initiate stakeholder meetings in order to develop a common vision, quantified objectives, and a series of specific actions for companies, policies, public sectors, as well as the construction sector as a whole. The actions that were proposed were again subdivided into 3 categories the ones of companies, the public sector, and the construction sector as a whole. So, for instance, in the companies, it would be what type of internal changes they should do to their economic model in order to facilitate reuse and to make a more circular building stock. For the public sector, it would be more what type of policies can we put forward, or what type of incentives or taxes we could put forward in order to facilitate circular economy. For the construction sector as a whole, it would be more what type of trainings could we have for all of the construction, or what is the culture that the construction sector should have in order to facilitate circular economy transition. Let's just give some examples of the actions that were proposed. One of them was, for example, to develop a material cadastre of the built environment. Another one was to create a sharing platform to reuse, an online sharing platform to reuse materials between buildings, but also a last example is to develop experimentation zones where all of the stakeholders could start innovating and could start experimenting if such actions would work or not. So this video showed how an urban metabolism study enabled, in the case of Brussels, the development of a policy strategic plan, the program of circular economy. But also it showed that from one study of urban metabolism, which shows all of the flows in a generic way, you can then go and study some specific flows. And from these specific flows, you can then, with stakeholders, develop more specific measures.